I have another question about future profits. Let's say a movie like Friday the 13th, which people see every year around Halloween, or the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is still in movie theaters. So let's say we do an audit, we settle, I win. What happens to every future showing of that movie and all the revenues that come in?
Hopefully they're going to account it correctly, and you need to put that in the agreement, the settlement agreement. But I will tell you that we're looking at a situation right now where there's an issue as to whether or not the person signed off and said, you can continue to account to me the way you have. So we sued every studio. We brought a class action. We brought 6 cases on home video for pre-81 movies. The contracts from 81 on said that you only get paid on 20% of the revenue that comes in, which is doesn't make sense. But we represented talent from before then, Richard Pryor and Peter Sellers and Charles Bronson and many others, and because they were paying them on 20%, even though the contract said 100%. Well, that's just the way they were doing it right then. So that's like a really hard number that we knew, that we felt that was justifiable overall. And in terms of the future, with these deals that people are making, it's the parties should be saying, we're going to get accounted this way in the future. One other point is that whenever a new technology comes in, the studio is going to do everything it can to construe it in a manner most favorable to itself. All right, as Sabrina said, that's business. But you talk about streaming and you talk about sell-through on the internet. How's that to be handled? Is that going to be covered under the traditional home video? And that's an issue that's right now in our system that lawyers are fighting about, which is worth a lot of money, because the way it's going is that there is no more home video, okay? It's fell off a cliff. You can't go to a Blockbuster anymore. The complete future is streaming, et cetera. And how's everybody going to get paid? And in your deals that you're making, you're going to be thinking, how do I make money on this situation? Because the money is going to be advertising driven in a lot of ways. On the internet, for example, how do I get paid on new media? And talent lawyers and studio lawyers are grappling with this right now. And I'll say one other area that we're involved in that's very important for you in making your deals is merchandising. Okay, they want to pay you like 5%. Well, why aren't I getting 50%? And the answer is because that's the way it is. Mm-hmm. Take it or leave it overall. But you want to fight for that merch money as much as you can, because that can be more than the profits times 10.
Diana, look at George Lucas.
Add one thing. If it's an older property, generally the studio loves to do a buyout situation. So you will see that depending on how old the property is. Lots of times you'll go to mediation. You'll want your back end. There'll be money there. And then they'll put an all-in number and just say, look, we don't really want to account to you going forward. This picture's a little older. It's a library title. Let's just do a buyout. And I think, depending on what your situation is, that could be a really good way to go. And you don't have to keep an eye on your property anymore. The other issues, Neville touched on streaming. I think everybody should be so on top of this when they're dealing with their contracts, and that understanding there's no cost. Before, when you had home video, you had stores and trucks and product and all of these costs, and there was an absolute, reasonable argument on the studio side that, hey, you should only get X amount because we're just paying out all this money. Remember, streaming digital rights, it's one button, and it's moving from here to here, and there are no costs. So we always argue, why shouldn't it be under the 100% gross receipts I'm entitled to on any money that comes in on this title? Well, there's no cost.
But the deals are making now is they're saying we want to pay you on a home video basis. We want to pay you on 20%. Maybe they'll bump you up to 30. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and you know what the argument is? We don't want to set a precedent.
Right.